Is the abdominal brace any good? Does it work? Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Some people say you should, some people say you shouldn't. What we're going to do in this tutorial is try and sort of move out the way some of the myths and get to some of the truths about bracing and demystify some of the information that's out there to make it a little bit more simple for you to understand. If you do want help with your lower back pain and you want to overcome it, please do click the link below, go through to my How to Overcome Lower Back Pain consultation and online coaching, where you'll be able to sit with me. We'll be able to get to the heart of your lower back pain and set up a plan to get you out of it. First of all, the abdominal brace. What is it? You've got your rectus abdominis here, you've got your obliques here. This is known as the abdominal wall. When we brace this area, we contract these muscles. Now that doesn't mean when we suck it back to our navel. That's not a brace. That doesn't stabilize the spine. That doesn't really do anything. A brace, if we take our fingers and we sort of just gently push them into our obliques, when we brace our abdominals, what should happen is it should push the fingers back out and they should go nice and solid. So it should be pretty solid from all the way on the outside, all the way into the middle. So we've got the abdominal brace, we understand what it is, we understand the muscles that need to work, we understand what it's not that hollowing, sucking of the navel towards the spine, it's not that doesn't really do anything. What we're now going to do is we're going to look at the different types of brace, because when people talk about we shouldn't do a brace, what they're generally doing is they're talking about the wrong brace at the wrong time. So if you hear people say, don't hold your body rigid, don't brace your abdominals, that generally means when you're stood up, when you're moving around, when you're picking up a light weight, as I'm about to describe, then you don't need to hold everything solid. You can relax a little bit more. But when it comes to the much heavier brace, that is the time to then really hold it tight. So we need to be able to understand what brace to use and when to use it. And in some respects, we need to understand the low back pain that we have as well when we come to it. But most of those types of questions will be answered if you do the online consultation and coaching. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at the light brace with that 8 kilo kettlebell. And the light brace is used, as it sort of describes in the name, when you're doing a light activity. So in the part one, when we talked about what a brace is, we talked about putting the fingers in the abdominals and then we sort of push them out with the muscles. So we've got solid muscles there and we're holding it nice and tight. Now with this weight here, I don't need a heavy brace. I don't really need to hold my body because it's just an 8 kilo weight. But if I've got instability in my spine, then what I don't want to be doing is I don't want to be sloppy. I don't just want to be walking up to it and picking it up. Because if there's instability in there, if I've just had an episode of lower back pain, then I'm probably going to need to use a brace. So there are times when you're more likely to use it and times when you're less likely to use it. We also need to talk about the neutral spine as well when we use it, because it's more effective to brace the abdominals with a neutral spine, but we can brace it with a flexed spine. And there are grades to it. So with regards to this lightweight, what I need to be able to do with this lightweight is obviously I need to be able to pick it up. Now as I've mentioned, I don't need to use that big heavy brace, which is going to come when I use the big 220 kilos here. So with this weight, all I need to be able to do is I need to first of all get the weight close to me, or as close as I can get to it, because that's going to keep the lever down, which is going to help my lower back. What we're then going to do is we're then just going to put on a light brace. So again, I can talk, I can just feel my abs, they're tight. I'm not straining, but I can feel that they're on. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to tip forward and I'm going to pick the weight up. That light brace is going to give my lower back the protection that it needs. And it'll be exactly the same. Now again, I don't have to tip forward, so this is known as the golfer's tip. I don't have to always lift like that. I can lift, like that, so I can hinge at my hips, but again, I'm just lightly bracing. That just holds everything in place and allows me to do it. Now, with a lighter weight, it is more okay. It's not necessarily okay to do it because that depends, but it's more okay to lift with a flex spine because again, it's not going to do as much damage. But what's going to help it is if we go into the flex posture and if we brace our abdominals and then lift. So if we have that light brace with a flex spine, is going to be more helpful than just having the flex spine. Obviously, if we can maintain the neutral posture, then that's going to be even more advantageous again, because that's going to have the low back muscles working as well and the abdominals to help support the area. When we go into this position, we've got the abdominal brace at the front, but we kind of lose the muscles at the back as well. So again, a lot of people try to pigeonhole me and say, you're too pro neutral spine. I'm about using neutral spine at the right time. I'm about using the abdominal brace at the right time, for the right person, in the right way, for the right object, for the right lift. So at times you can flex your spine. At times you want to keep neutral. At times you can have more laxity in your abdominals. If you were just going down and picking a pen up off the floor, you may not even use a brace because it's just a pen off the floor. But if you had a low back episode the morning, then you may need to use an abdominal brace. So again, there's 1,000,001 scenarios in which you may or may not use it, but if we can be person specific, i.e. you specific, then you'll understand when you need to be using a light brace and you need to be using a heavy brace, or when you can flex your spine or when you can't flex your spine. So what we're now going to do is we're going to move on to the heavy brace with the 220s. Now I've kind of explained everything that I need to explain, but just to kind of go over what we're doing in this part, and we're going to be using a heavy brace. When am I using, or why am I using a heavy brace? Because that's 40 kilos. Now, for some people that might be too heavy. For some people that may be too light. With regards to what's light and heavy for you, that's relative. For someone, this may be really light and they only need a light brace. For someone, this may be too heavy and they can't even lift it up. Whereas for me, you know, it's not heavy, but it's a sensible weight where I need to be sensible. So I'm going to brace. Now, let's just say that is very heavy for me. So what I now need to do is I need to heavy brace. So I need to kind of do the other things that I was doing before, is hinge at the hip, get the glutes working, maintain the posture of the spine and lift. So I need to come right over the weight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to brace here. As I go down, I'm going to keep that brace, then I'm going to grab on and hold tight. Now, with regards to the lightweight, I didn't mention the other parts to the brace. If you want to brace the whole torso, what we're going to do now is work with the shoulders. So what you do is you just bring them back and press them down. That gets the latissimus dorsi at the side or at the back. That also joins into the thoracolumbar fascia, which then adds more stability to the spine. So we come into this position, we hinge at the hip, we come down, we grip tight, we push the shoulders down and we lift. And then in reverse, we keep the brace on and then we place the weights back down. So with regards to when we use a heavy brace, it's when we're lifting a heavy weight. If we need more of a brace, we go with the shoulders as well, which is shoulders back and then down, which gets the lats going, which gets the trapezius, which gets the rhomboids going, and mid and lower trapezius. So the heavy brace is a little bit more involved. Now, again, depending on the object, depending on the weight of it, depending on the location of it, you may need to flex your spine. Now, the exact same principle holds. If you need to round your spine, then it's going to be advantageous to get that brace, so you've got some degree of support around the front of the torso. You're going to lose the back muscles, but as long as we can get the ones at the front, we're going to have some support there. So if we do need to flex the spine, again, brace, then go down, then come up. Try not to extend, flex, extend when you go through the lift. If you're staying flexed, come up to the top, stay flexed, carry, put them down wherever you need to put them down, then come out. Because what you don't want is the compression and then the load of that moving, because again, that can aggravate the vertebra, the intervertebral discs, and it can make the muscles not be working the same as they were when you first braced it. So we need to think about it in that way. So I'm hoping that gives you a better idea about bracing. Hopefully it demystifies and sort of helps clarify when you might use a brace, why you might use a brace, and what you might use the brace for, and some caveats around it, when you can bend your spine, when you can be a lighter, and so on and so forth. So as I mentioned before, light brace for lightweights, heavy brace for heavyweights. Many thanks for watching. If you found this tutorial useful, hit the like button. If you learned something new, hit the thanks button. If you've got a comment or a question, please leave it down below. And if you want to watch more tutorials like this, please do hit the subscribe button and the bell icon.